I think another issue that the virus brings to the surface is gender inversion or gender vertigo. Gender roles have been very fluid, with the reallocation and redistribution of power and financial and economic resources. Women became far more independent. 43% of all breadwinners in the West are women nowadays, primary breadwinners. There are many men are now stay-at-home dads, and this kind of thing. So it was in flux. Gender roles were in flux, and I think what the virus will do, it will accelerate and exacerbate this gender vertigo. I think many women will discover during this pandemic that they, one, cannot rely on men, but even more importantly, do not need to rely on men. And many men, I think, will discover in this pandemic that there are alternatives to being with a woman. In other words, I think this pandemic will kind of justify and prove that gender separation is a doable thing, that you can survive it.
Interesting.
And so there will be huge gender vertigo. Already there's a rebellion by disoriented and dislocated men, a rebellion against women, misogynistic rebellion. You have the manosphere, and within the manosphere you have MGTOWs, men going their own way, you have red pillars, you have incels, whole movements. And they number millions. We're not talking small movement.
Sorry to interrupt, but for people who don't know what those things are, like men going their own way, what is that?
Men going their own way are men who had decided not to enter committed relationships with women, because they believe that women abuse and leverage these relationships to steal from them their property and livelihood and freedom.
Oh, okay.
Red pillars are simply people who believe that feminist propaganda has swept across the globe, and so people are blinded to the fact that actually women have all the power and wield it mercilessly.
Right.
So that's red pillars. And then you have incels. Incels are men who believe that women give their attentions only to successful and powerful and alpha males and winners. And therefore, 80% of the male population are unable to access sex and other sexual favors and other and intimacy with women, because women prefer only successful men. So these are examples
right.
of intergender movement. There's a gender war going on, no question about it. But I think this virus will have proven to both genders that they do not need each other anymore. Of course, this will foster new technologies, because the minute a man is alone and a woman is alone, they still need sex. It's it's like breathing and eating. It's an urge. So I think there will be new technologies like holographic pornography and like seriously android-like sex dolls who will, be almost human. And I think this is the future of sex, actually. Additionally, don't forget that we don't need to procreate anymore. Procreation will be completely replaced with recreation. Already in most countries, in most industrialized countries, the birth rate is under the death rate. So there is a population decrease, year-on-year population decrease for well over 20 years already. The population of industrialized nations is decreasing, not increasing. So procreation has been replaced with recreation. And therefore, for example, committed emotional sex within relationships has been replaced with casual sex via dating apps or similar. Because casual sex has nothing to do with procreation, evidently, nor does it necessitate an investment, emotional and otherwise, resource investment, in a long-term relationship. And the only reason to have a long-term relationship is to have children. And actually, the only reason to have a society is because we want to nurture future generations. We invented society for two reasons. One, to transfer wealth between generations. And two, to raise the young. To raise the young safely. These were the only reasons we invented society. It was Margaret Thatcher who said in 1987, in the modern world, we don't need a society. There's no such thing as society, she said. Only individuals. Margaret Thatcher, 40 years ago.